Sarah Grant never thought she would be running her own successful company because of her passion for art. Now Sarah has many artisans working for her, lots of employees, a ton of customers from all over the world, and has been featured in many publications that deal with art, architecture, and so much more. We're talking about the world-famous business called Stix today on Metro Woman. I would like to know what possessed you. What did you just wake up one day and said, this is, you had a dream? What did you envision, and what just said, I want to be my own boss and create this company?
That never popped into my mind. It was a complete accident that Stix became what it is today. In the beginning, it was an accident. Let me say that after the accident occurred, it's been a lot of hard work.
Sure.
But I will tell you that my background is in intaglio printmaking, drawing, and painting. I'm also an abstract painter. That's what I went to the University of Iowa for graduate and undergraduate school to do. And never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be making or designing furniture or sculpture or anything out of wood, because that just was not my background. It was in the early 80s. I was teaching at Iowa State and not making a whole lot of money. I had 3 little kids, or 2 little kids at that time, and a good friend of mine who worked for Meredith called me and said, we have a need for a designer who is not country cute, and would you please design a wooden nativity for us? And I said, I don't do tchotchkes. And she said, I have $500 for you. And I said, I will do your nativity. So I produced one for the magazine, and the rejected pieces, my mother had to have one, and then my aunts, and then my mother's neighbors, and the next thing I knew, I was making sculpture, which eventually evolved into the furniture. And it didn't put my children or my painting career on the back burner. It just became an addition to my life. And then flowing out of the making of the pieces came the whole opportunity to learn business by the seat of my pants.
Right. So you had not had any business,
No.
None of your gazillion degrees that you got at Iowa? No.
No.
So that
no, in fact, my dad said for years, as my mother did as well, would you just please take one class that begins with a B? And I did not.
Well, you seem to be doing
business,
okay.
no business.
But okay, so as you stated, in the 80s, and they didn't want the country, because that was huge with the country, and everything was powder blue or whatever.
A little different.
Sure.
And so when I was given the charge of doing the product, I just happened to be visiting an antique store that weekend, and because I didn't know about cutting things out of wood. I could do it, but it wasn't my thing. I'm a drawer. How am I going to draw on this wood? And I saw some Boy Scout boxes from the 20s or 30s that had all been engraved, and so I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'll engrave on the wood, the lines.
And so what do you feel like, what was the first chunk of things? Okay, you did the nativity.
I did the nativity, and then that led to other holiday kinds of items, Santa Clauses and ornaments and that kind of thing. And then those led into, well, it's not Christmas every day of the year, unless you're really optimistic. But people aren't buying Santas every day of the year. So I started branching out and making ornaments of different themes, and angels and fish sculpture and Hallelujah ladies and whatnot. And then I think the first furniture piece I did was a mirror. And that felt really comfortable to me, because as a drawer and a painter, it's on the wall, it's flat. And then that led to the coffee table, which is just like, you know, a drawing or a painting, except laying down.
Sure.
So that's how I got into furniture.
More with Sarah Grant when we come back on Metro Woman. Today on Metro Woman, we're telling you the incredible stories of women entrepreneurs. We're talking about the world-famous business called Stix. How did you arrive at, this is my thing, is these bright, bold, interesting?
Well, they're not all bright and bold and interesting. I think Sticks gets a signature that, you know, we're fun and funky, and those handles I don't like to use. Sure. Because what actually happens is that everybody who works here with me in the painting department and the drawing department has an art background. They have art degrees. They're painters in their own right. And so the techniques that people have learned and used in their own work, each one individually brings that to Sticks as an artist. And then the customer, if your home is all earth tones and you know you like natural wood versus painted wood, well then we respond to the customer as well, which is, I think, the thing that has separated Sticks in the painted furniture market, because we don't just have one signature look. I think we have a brand that's recognizable, so you're confusing color with the fact that you're recognizing our brand.
Or maybe those are just the ones I noticed, because that's what I like the best.
That's what you like the best.
Right.
There you go.
When did you get to the point where it was beyond having your mother's friends or neighbors buy your stuff and you went, holy buckets,
yes,
I'm onto a big deal here? When was that aha moment?
It was very shortly after that first nativity was designed, and there were some magazine publications that showed what I was making, and I realized that there was a bigger market. And so I did something that I swore in art school I would never do, which was my first art fair. I really was not interested in selling off the sidewalk or in the park or wherever. But I did it and continued to sell retail at art fairs until 1992. And by then my 3 children were old enough that I had soccer games every weekend and school and church events and all this sort of thing, and I just didn't want to be on the road like a carny anymore. Right. So I was advised by a friend in business to think about selling my product at wholesale, which I don't know why I never thought about that with Sticks, because I've never sold one of my paintings directly. I have galleries sell them for me. So I decided in 1992 to incorporate as Sticks Inc. with the idea in mind that I would sell to stores and galleries. In order to do that, I needed to go to a trade show, which is not what painters and drawers do, but it is what American craft artists do. So I went to a trade show, and all the buyers of American craft for their galleries came, and that first year they all took a chance on me, and the rest is history. I've been selling wholesale ever since.
Wow. I'm assuming you don't just have cookie cutter people with an art degree that come in here. Broad scope?
Broad scope. Our facility has a wood shop. We produce all of our own product here in Des Moines, Iowa, in this studio, the actual building and construction of it. And then we have a team of drawers. That's generally where I would work if I'm working on product, who draw all the images, and then the engraving department, where they carve all the lines that the drawers have made. And then the prep guy gets it all sanded and ready for the painters, which is probably our largest group of individuals, because their job is very time intensive and very specific to drawing, and painting are very specific to the customer's wants. And so the painting department, then each one of those painters pretty much makes their own decisions based on what the order says they need to do. And I want it that way. Why would an artist want to work in a place where they're told what they have to do? That's not the art spirit. And so through the years, by letting that freedom occur in drawing and painting, I think we've kept our product very edgy and fresh and different from every day today. And then from painting, it goes through the final finishing process, and then we have our own shipping dock, and so the whole thing happens right here.
Well, I think it's really great that you aren't taking a lot of creative people and just making them do an assembly line of, this is my vision, I don't care about your vision, thanks for the art degree.
Right.
That's really great that it's a group effort.
It is very much a team collaborative effort at Sticks, and it has been from the beginning. And
I could see that when I was at, people just were doing their thing, and that's, as a wannabe artist, that's just nice to see that you can let their creative spirit lend itself to what you've got in mind. More with Sticks when we come back on Metro Woman. Today on Metro Woman, we're telling you the incredible stories of women entrepreneurs. We're talking about the world-famous business called Stix. What did you do to market yourself and help the company grow after you did hit that point where it was beyond your mother's friends buying the products?
We did do the American Craft Trade Show to find the initial client, but I have always had this vision of Stix being, each piece is very individual and very customized, and so through the years I have worked with the galleries who represent Stix to be certain that the product they receive for resale is product that's very special for their own location. So if you're in Florida and see Stix, it won't look like Stix in Portland, Oregon. We also have always had about 40% of our business is custom. So you could tell me your story, your family, your children, your dogs, your cats, where you like to vacation, your college preference, and so on and so forth. And all of that can be interpreted by Stix and put on your dining table or your Lazy Susan or whatever you want, which means that each piece then becomes even more dramatically handcrafted, because it's not just the hands then, it's the artist's head and their heart that even though we may never have met you, we know you by the end of the day when we've made your table. I think also taking that concept and branching it out to site-specific locations. The first one we did, when I say site-specific, would be Blank Children's Hospital. I don't know if you're familiar with that in Des Moines.
I spent a summer there with one of my kids, so I know, yep.
The lobby, the ER, the ambulatory facility, and then parts of the actual hospital facility are done with Stix. And so clearly knowing that that is a children's hospital and not a learning center at Iowa State where we have another large installation, we needed to make our messages and our colors and the images that we put at Blank Children's Hospital very specific for what their customer need was. So that's what we call the site-specific installation part of the business. It has the same intent that we have doing a personal table for you, but it's on a bigger scale with a larger audience. And I think getting to juggle those two kinds of projects is one of the things that makes Stix very exciting, not only for customers to look at, but I think for all of us who work here. It makes it very different every day of the week.
So where else can everybody find Stix?
Well, in most of the major cities in this country and a lot of resort and vacation areas, there are some smaller towns that sell Stix. And if I were to say internationally is generally because a foreign visitor has found a Stix gallery in the United States, purchased Stix and had it shipped to Europe, or they found us directly and ordered something to be sent to Scotland. Or we did a huge the interior of a castle in France for a very famous clown.
Oh my gosh.
So there's no gallery in France, but somehow this guy and his wife found Stix, and we got to do the whole kitchen cabinets and the big kidney-shaped dining table. I mean, it's crazy. It's a clown. So it's a funky project. But that's in Europe. I've tried through the years to figure out how to be represented outside the United States. It's very difficult because of the volume that has to be purchased. And the expense of that volume when you're making a high-end product is, it's hard for Americans in my position to get their goods out of the country. It's pretty easy for us to get furniture in, but so I don't know. I mean, that is something that we will not give up looking for, is some sort of distribution overseas.
Sure. More with Sarah Grant from Stix on Metro Woman. But first, here's a great, quick, and easy cooking idea from Kayla Westergaard from the Iowa Egg Council.
Looking for the perfect breakfast dish to make the night before? Today we'll be making 'Twas the Night Before Breakfast, a great dish for your family and friends. Let's get started. For this recipe you'll need 10 slices of white bread, which we've pre-buttered and cubed. You'll also need 12 ounces of cheddar cheese, 8 eggs, 3 cups of whole milk, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, a half teaspoon of hot sauce, 1 teaspoon of dry mustard, and 1 onion chopped. So now we're going to take our cubed buttered bread and we're going to layer that in our already greased 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Scatter half of those bread cubes in the bottom of the dish and then cover the bread with half of our cheddar cheese. And then we'll repeat the process. So bread again and then cheese on top. And then from there, you're going to take your 8 eggs and pour them into a large mixing bowl, as well as our 3 cups of whole milk, our onion, and our spices. That onion smells so good. Now, if you don't like hot sauce, this is an optional item to include in this recipe. And then whisk it together. And then we'll pour our mixture in. Now this recipe will need to chill for anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. It needs to bake on 325 degrees for about an hour. When we come back, 'Twas the Night Before Breakfast will be ready to eat.
Moving my mind and my hands at world record speed. I'm Luke Myers. If you want to be incredible, eat incredible.
Eggs. Incredible energy for body and mind.
Easy, simple, yet so delicious. 'Twas the Night Before Breakfast.
Today on Metro Woman, we're telling you the incredible stories of women entrepreneurs. We're talking about the world-famous business called Stix. Sarah Grant never thought she would be running her own successful company because of her passion for art. Now Sarah has many artisans working for her and has been featured in many publications that deal with art, architecture, and so much more. So if you've been at this since the early 80s, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning and says, I still love this and this is my passion? What is it that's still driving you to do that every single day?
You know, it's interesting, a few years ago I would have said, oh, it's because I love production systems and I love business and I've learned so much about those things that if I could get more college degrees, I would have been a production engineer or a business person. But you know, the older I get, those things are fun and they're interesting and they're conversationally engaging. But at the end of the day, I think what I really, really love about this is that we're telling stories about people's lives, and the big joke in drawing is, wow, you know, we have hundreds of thousands of friends all over America and we've never met them. We just know them because they're telling us our stories and entrusting us to do something with that story that will come into their lives and mark that story.
What would you give for advice for a woman who's got a dream, got something that they're passionate about, and they just say, I don't know what to do next, and you're a woman who's been successful at realizing that vision? What would you pass on as things you've learned, advice you would give, and just the experience you've gained from Stix?
From the outside, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but from the outside, from the outside looking in on a company like Stix, it's very exciting and fun looking and successful because what we make is so beautiful, and this is what people see and they equate that to, oh, she's never had any problems, or she must be a millionairess, or whatever. You can look at all that from the outside at someone's business, but if I had to put advice without going into detail, I would tell any young entrepreneur, be they female or male, don't trust anybody but yourself. Trust yourself first. If you've got it in your gut that something's feeling not quite right about advice that you're getting, walk away. Just walk away. If you're feeling second guessing about your own ideas, walk away from that idea. Don't trust anybody. So that, I guess that's kind of a downer, but I've learned since the early 80s with a lot of ups and downs that I didn't always make the right choices, and it was because I was not trusting my gut.
But obviously you learned from whatever mistakes you did make, and
I'm not making them.
Didn't make them again.
I'm not going to make them again.
If you could go back to the beginning and change anything, would there be something that you would change?
The fact that I have, in many years of my life, with my children, my family, I had a first marriage that suffered because of this business. I would probably not have let it consume my life to the degree that I did. Unfortunately, for entrepreneurs in small business in America, it's almost a given that it has to consume your life, and the entrepreneurial personality lets it. And so if I had the strength to go back, I would have listened to the advisors I had, personal friends and family and whoever the therapist was, and taken their advice and tried to learn ways to let it go so that I could be focused on the other things that I love in my life without always having sticks there.
So finding more of a balance.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you hit the point of no return in the business, where you're just like, okay, I've got the building, I've got the employees, this is it, and that was a risky, scary thing, do you still find there are things that scare you?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing that scares me is that as a company has a tendency to grow and an entrepreneur begins to pass off jobs to other people, you begin to lose the edge on risk. Because the one who has the risk, who's not afraid of risk, is the owner, the entrepreneur. All of these fabulous people who work for me, while they may be risk-taking people, are much more cautious. And so for the entrepreneur, it's difficult to keep your business edgy and keep it exciting and keep that fire lit that, don't worry guys, if you take a chance and it doesn't work, it's okay. It worries me that we're not being risky enough. And so actually I kind of see this down cycle in the business market. I'm not happy about it, but it begs for more risk.
Spending the day with Sarah was great. If you have a show idea, please log on to our website, www.metrowoman.tv, and let us know what you'd like to see. Thanks for watching.